Look at us now.
Oh, Jesus.
It's what, 11 a.m.?
Kombat.
Oh, there it is.
You fit in seamlessly in this weird MK environment.
Do you want a margarita? We're gonna do it. On your marks, get set, and go down.
I don't know how much of the weekend's MMA is going to be good, but there's going to be a lot of it. Kind of like MK. Welcome, everyone. Year 7, or just about anyway. How are you doing? My name is Luke Thomas. I am merely one half of your hosting duo. I join you from the capital of Estados Unidos right here for another edition of Fridays MK with my friend from the South. I don't know if he's disbarred or not, but he's my friend. It's Jed Meshew. Hello, lawyer.
I'm joining you from the capital of the greatest state in Los Estados Unidos.
Oh, motherfucker, I
Atlanta,
live there.
Georgia,
You can't
baby.
lie to me.
It's a great state. You lived here a million years ago. It's way better now.
I've been to Warner Robins. You understand that? I know what that's like, brother. My brother went to high school in Berrien County. What do you know about that shit?
Look, I'm sure that every state has a Warner Robins or a Cumming, Georgia, or a Dahlonega. Actually, Dahlonega is pretty nice, but you know, it's a great place.
Is my brother the first person to go to high school in Berrien County and then ultimately get his math PhD?
Oh, almost certainly, right? Like that that has to be a real, there can't be more than 5.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, welcome on this Friday edition. As I indicated, if I'm being all serious here, there's like a shocking amount of MMA. In fact, you know, MK under the BC reign, we would do a little bit more MMA and boxing. There's also Keyshawn Davis on the boxing side. We don't even have time to get to that today because we actually have a packed show. Yes, Ronda Rousey is finally back. She fights tomorrow, everyone. We'll see how everyone's feeling about it. We'll talk about the fights. It'll be a good time. Plus, I'll say this about the UFC event on Saturday. The main event, I like a lot. It's a great fight. Everything else, I don't know about. Generally, I'm going to argue it's the worst UFC card of the year by a million miles. So we'll get to that. Plus, by the way, one's got stuff going on. They just had an event. They've got another one tonight. What's going on with them? We'll talk about them as well. So thumbs up on the video. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Of course, this is Jed. Jed, where do you prefer to get follows from? I see you're very combative on Twitter.
I try not to be combative on Twitter, but
you're very combative.
Have
You've been
you ever
combating Strickland fans all week, and they don't like it.
I don't get it. Like their guy won, and at no point was I critical of Sean Strickland. But you know, it's Twitter, so you don't go to Twitter for reasoned, sensible discussion. That's where you go to vent the toxins. You got to get those out. That's still probably the best. I've started to get on TikTok and the other socials, but you know, Twitter is. I can't quit you, Twitter.
I'm a lurker on TikTok. I mean, I have an account, but I don't even run it. I just lurk. So
it's the best social media platform, but like
it is actually
yes. Much more annoying.
I totally agree with that. Let's bring in the third member here of the show. It is my friend and yours. He is the resident, shall we say, gambling. Would you call yourself a gambling expert? I mean, you do it a lot. I'm not exactly sure how good you are at it.
Giving me the word expert is fancy. It sounds nice. Yeah, Jed laughing in your face about that, I think says all you need.
You do it a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
would you call yourself a heroin expert?
Yeah, you know, I do it. No, yeah, I'm an avid gambler. I would never call myself an expert.
Yes,
I think
fair.
People who call themselves betting experts are kind of just idiots. You know, that's like people who are like, "This is a lock." Like that's just.
My brother has. I'll tell you off air. My brother has advice for you.
For me,
yes, as a math PhD, he has advice for you on how to best make high returns.
Ooh,
put it that way.
I'm interested in hearing.
All right, very good. So let's talk about this. You can reach the show always morningcombat@gmail.com. We have, I've already shown you the socials. Let's talk about the merch, morningcombat.shop. In fact, I see Jed has last month's, which are sick. These are the 3 this month. We got the Renegades of Donk here on the left. We have the Washington, D.C. DC 101 kind of MK shirt. And then last but certainly not least, my favorite, I mean, just the king of the hill right here, the Whippets T-shirt May exclusive. And there you go. You can get those at morningcombat.shop. These are only available this month, so get them while you can. All right. Am I missing anything else off the top? I don't think that I am. I think that's about it, right? All right. With that out of the way, let's get this started. We have a lot to get to. Topic number 1, Well, it's finally here. What do you want to call it? Rousey Carano, MMA Netflix, Netflix MMA, MMA MVP 1, whatever the name is, it is upon us. The weigh-ins are going to be happening, I think, here momentarily. Ronda Rousey, after a 10-year hiatus, returns to the cage with Gina Carano into 17 years outside of it. Now, there's so much to talk about in terms of the fights themselves, Jed. But before we get to that, let's actually talk about how the promotion of this fight is. I kind of want to get a pulse check. Number one, not so much how are you feeling about it, although you can certainly share that, but what your best read of the fan base is, what their enthusiasm of it is, and maybe the wider public too. And then secondly, let's talk about the promotion. But first, start there. Give me a pulse check on this. How are things?
I've been thinking about that a lot this week, Luke, because it's really weird, right? Like when this was first announced, we got, I don't know if people were like super stoked, but it was just such an interesting thing. Like not really a fight I had considered in the last decade or whatever, being on Netflix, the implications of what that means. And then we did the first presser. It was like, oh, this might be kind of fun. Ronda's, not to everybody's taste, certainly, but she is back. She is at least a more interesting personality than a lot of people we've got in the sport right now. They did that second presser, which felt like it kind of hurt their momentum. And now here we are on fight week. And Luke, I've got a theory that I've been thinking about, and I would love your take on this.
Okay.
It feels like this is not the big event that it is going to ultimately be. I think that this is going to be quite a large viewership event because of Netflix, because there are stars involved. But to me, it feels like there's a real dichotomy at play here where the hardcore, like the MMA fan base doesn't care that much, right? Or are like actively antagonistic towards this because a lot of the MMA fan base just super does not like Ronda Rousey. The Nate Diaz, Mike Perry thing people are pretty into. Francis Ngannou, we'll talk about that fight, but it feels like the hardcore MMA fan base, especially in the context of UFC White House coming, they are just kind of like pretty ambivalent to this. I think they'll ultimately tune in because they're going to watch fights and this is a spectacle that's easy to access. But ultimately, it feels like this is more an event for a casual fan base because that is Ronda Rousey's appeal was never really like a clean circle of a Venn diagram for MMA fan base. She brought in different people. And so that's sort of the thing that I'm trying to get a gauge on is what are the normies saying about this event? Like, how is this rating? And it is rating for them, right? Like my non-MMA friends know that this is happening. It's on the front page of Netflix. But that feels weird to me. Does that make sense?
I have a similar inability to kind of, I'm with you, but maybe I see it slightly differently in the following sense, which is, so when the fights were first announced, we were kind of like, we don't get this, or at least the main event. And they added a bunch of names to the card. And I think there was initially some enthusiasm, in part because at the time they announced that, it was during the part of the UFC calendar where the fights were just not delivering at all. And then since then, they've had some big fights, at least from an entertainment standpoint, certainly deliver. And then obviously the last one did some big numbers. So that itch has kind of been scratched. And now it's like, well, what's left for us? And there wasn't, I mentioned this last week, it felt like the buzz had kind of gone nowhere. But then this week when they started, they've been everywhere, right? They've kind of pumped it out. And it's led, you could have seen it before, but to your point, there's this weird Ronda antipathy within the fan base. And when I say weird, what I mean is, in part, I get it because she's so outspoken that kind of thing is going to rub people the wrong way. On the other hand, I have also noticed, if there's been one feature this week to me, Jed, that's been really just hilarious, is people like, if you want to say Rousey left the sport in a terrible way, sure. If you want to say, how good was she really in terms of the modern game? You can have that debate too, but you can make any kind of reasonable set of criticisms. But then they're denying her the achievements she had as well. There's been a little bit of erasure of what she's done in the sport by a fan base who I think was just not around to witness that. Which brings me to your point, which is that the hardcore fan base, the MMA fan base, they're probably going to watch this on some level, one way or the other, no matter what. So the question is, how far outside of that are you getting? If you really want to hit that 9 million number to break the record of all-time viewership, you have to go well outside traditional MMA fandom in order to be able to do that. And how is it penetrating there? And I can't get a read on it really for the most part either. So I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but I'm at least trying to articulate there's been weird ups and downs and where it fit in the whole thing. And I can't quite get a finger on it except to say, I do think it'll do a good number. It's just, I don't know. I'm still quite not sure what to expect from all of this.
Yeah, because it's such a different event, which I think is where I've kind of come down, because at this point I just live in this world. Like, my view of MMA is largely colored by existing deeply in the forest of it, and the only thing that ever rates is like, oh, if a UFC card if I'm getting texts from old college buddies, we call it the mom test MMA fighting, then okay, I know that that's at least going to be big. But this feels a little more beyond that, because I can't tell if people know about it because it is inherently big, or they know about it and they maybe have a passing casual interest because it's on Netflix and there's nothing really like competing against it. We'll talk about the UFC card later. It is whatever. And so it's just kind of hard for me to rate. And then especially because in the forest of it, like you said, not just a fan base that doesn't remember Ronda, which I do think a lot of it is, or weren't there for, but are actively antagonistic in part because she can make you. I'm not here to defend Ronda Rousey for being like the most charming person alive.
No, for sure.
But also, especially in this iteration, she has come for the throat of the UFC in such a way that, like, a lot of the fan base are just straight up UFC fans. They're not, they don't give a shit about the fighters or whatever. And so that's going to really get their fur up in a different sort of way. And so it's been a really strange push and pull, especially when you add on top of that, Luke, like, we are coming off 328, which, for better or worse, that had heat to it, right? Like, there was the natural storytelling of combat sports over history has been, these two people don't like each other, right? And MVP MMA can't really sell that. And they can't sell that these are the two best fighters in the world. Like, that's not that. So how they can sell this is very strange. And it's all been like a really weird fight week that I ultimately think probably won't matter. They're still going to do really good numbers, but it's definitely been strange.
It has been strange. The other part too is like, there's she has this antipathy with UFC, and she clarified yesterday, like, not with Lorenzo, not with Dana. My loyalty is to them. Yeah, my loyalty is to them, not the organization that they sold, which I think some people were responsive or they appreciated. But the reality is also this, Jed. Remember, the genesis of this fight was that they went to Hunter, and Hunter Campbell was like, nah, I'm good. And so that has she's kind of had this like scorned lover almost kind of energy about it, being like, I'm going to show you, in the end. And she may, like that's certainly on the table. Netflix is the king of all streamers. So that certainly might actually be a thing, but it's kind of made for a weird dynamic. The other part too, like in talking about how this fight's been promoted, I've seen Nate promote. I'll give Nate credit. He's definitely done some rounds. Francis has done some, but nothing of any great note. Felipe Lins, Pulbricito, I don't even know what to say about him.
He's just happy to be there, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then, Mike Perry,
that's fun, guys. Yeah.
In fairness to Mike Perry's done some promotion as well. So, like, most people have done a little bit. Felipe Lins, nothing. Gina Carano has done nothing for this, like virtually nothing. And she was brought in because, she does have a name, and obviously, she has a pioneer in the sport, but like, she was supposed to kind of build off of that, and she has been so quiet. So, like, I know people are going to kill Ronda for being dislikable, and I'm honest to God, not trying to take that away from anybody. What I will say, though, is, Jed, if you just look at who has done the most amount of media, like sat down, done the photo shoots, sat down in studio, not just, doing things via phone or via Zoom or something like that. It's Ronda by a million miles, more than Jake Paul, more than Nikisa. And frankly, this is the point I'm trying to piggyback on yours. There's no heat between these two because they're kind of doing it as this aspirational moment for them both. So it has kind of put Ronda as the sort of center of this. It's put a responsibility on her to promote in a way where, she could use a little help from Gina, and she didn't get it.
Look, you have to have a dance partner for these things. And I think that in part, outside of just like, this is a great fight to put on, I think that was sort of the hope, is that Nate and Mike Perry would kind of add that little sizzle to this card, because Francis just has never been that kind of compelling. He is compelling because he is big and he hits the shit out of people. But like, even when he was beefing with John Jones, it's not like that was really the awesome or whatever. And Nate has been so, Nate's out there, but he clearly doesn't have any animosity towards Mike Perry. And Mike Perry can't bring himself to talk shit about Nate. And so that's not getting the friction going there. And so you're left with the main event of this being Ronda beefing with an executive from another promotion that she'll never fight, and who also doesn't like even get on to talk about things. And Gina Carano, who has been, I don't know what the expectations, if people even had expectations, but she has been quite bad as a promotional, like she is just the person to put on the promo. And to me, and I said this right at the jump, and I have felt, I get shit wrong a lot. I feel very correct about this. She is doing this because she wants to be famous again. She was famous. She made some comments. She stopped being famous and hasn't been famous for a while. And she wants to be famous. And that's why she's not doing much. She's just like, oh, I am famous. And this is clearly, to me, I want to use this to get back into being a famous person who can do other things that I'd rather do. Not that saying that she hates fighting or doesn't want to do this, but like, she has had nothing to build this at all other than like, I'm back and I'm so thankful to Ronda. And it's like, okay, you are fit. Like, you are not doing much more lifting than Philippe Lins in this one.
Yeah, no, seriously. I don't think that's wrong at all. Long Island, where are you on this one? Have you had any encounters with people who you would describe as casual fans, or maybe not even traditional fans at all, who have kind of remarked about this? What is your sense about the outside world here?
I got to be honest, I just haven't seen that many people this week, but someone like Ronda Rousey is, like Jed said, the mom test before. That's someone my mom constantly asks me about. Like, if I'm like, oh, there's this big women, like Kayla Harrison's fighting, I'm like, oh, there's this big women's fight this weekend. She's like, Ronda Rousey. I'm like, Mom, Ronda Rousey hasn't been around for like 8 years. So I do think it will be the type of thing that my dad mentions to me next time I see him, like once Saturday finally happens. But leading up to it, no, I haven't really heard anything.
Yeah, that has certainly been, let me see here something if I can very quickly. That has certainly been something that's been an interesting challenge. The odds on this, DraftKings, Ronda Rousey minus 575, Gina Carano plus 425. We'll talk about the fight itself in a minute, Jed, but let me sort of play something here. Ronda has a goal, and the goal is to be the most viewed MMA event of all time. Now, let me say this. It can't be that, because Pride events in Japan would do gigantic numbers. Like Royce Gracie, this was a K1, but when Royce Gracie fought Akibono in MMA, it did 54 million people in Japan. It's like half the country.
Yeah.
So we can't touch that. The question is, can you touch the North American record? Here's what she had to say about it.
What does that success look like to you in terms of viewership and numbers when this is all said and done?
In numbers, I just want to be able to beat the numbers for the most viewed MMA fight of all time. What's the numbers for that?
US, about 9 million.
About 9 million. So beating 9 million will be a success to me. Blowing it out of the park will make me very happy. But that's all that I really want to get out of this. I just want to be able to convince MVP and Netflix that there is something here and it is worth the investment, and this is going to be huge, and that they should, stay in the MMA game and not just dabble in it this one time.
I'm kind of worried because there's a lot of forces in play. And again, like the thing that gives you, it's my opinion, take it for what it's worth, like the thing that gives you the most optimism that could reach that number is the scale of Netflix. It's so dramatic that, Taylor Serrano 3 on Netflix, and neither of those ladies have the name value that Rousey does here. That did 6 million globally. Can it beat that, Jed? Can it get the 9 million? What is your sense of things?
Yeah, I've said from the jump, I think they're going to get to 10 million. I think this is going to be the most viewed North American fight of all, or, however you want to phrase that, you know what I'm saying, fight of all time, in large part because Ronda Rousey is super famous still, and Netflix is the biggest streamer in the world. Like those two things, it is just so accessible. It costs you, however many households in America have it. It costs them nothing on a Saturday night. They're flipping channels. They open up their Netflix app. It is right at the top. Ronda's famous. They click for a bit and see what's going on. And I base that assumption largely on the Taylor Serrano numbers, where God love them, they are both substantially better current state combat sports athletes than Ronda Rousey is. Neither of them are famous. Like, they just aren't like famous. And, you know, my parents, I could go poll 40 people outside, like in my neighborhood, and I really doubt more than like 3 could tell me who either of those people are. Whereas almost all of them be like, I know who Ronda Rousey is. And so I think that's doing the heavy lifting here. I will say, if it doesn't, I think that's going to be quite bad for them, right? Like, if this doesn't get at least in the neighborhood of the 9 million target, that is going to open up a lot of questions for me about, is MVP going to do this again, or was this a one-off, we took our shot and we missed?
Yeah. To speak to the point about Ronda battling everyone other than her opponent, she had quite the quote yesterday at the press conference. Let's show that.
I asked you on Monday how you felt about some critics out there who are hearing you talk about fighter pay, hearing you talk about the sport, about the UFC. Fighters like Khamzat Chimaev, who was on camera criticizing, saying that you're essentially biting the hand that fed you back in the day, that you're coming across as ungrateful for everything that they did for you. What is your response to those people?
Well, I would want to make something abundantly clear, and that's that I owe Dana and the Fertittas immensely, and I would be caught dead before you ever heard me say a bad thing about any of them. But my loyalty is to them and not the company they sold. And I do not owe TKO's UFC a damn thing. And fucking Cleft Lip Lincoln is just hating because at his press conference for his fight, people are asking about me and my fight because no one gives a shit about his ineffectual WrestleFuck fests. And people are actually, they can't stop talking about this fight because it's so stacked, and they're actually excited to see me fight because unlike Kumquat, I have 100% finish rate.
I gotta say, Cleft Lip Lincoln,
Look,
not a bad zing.
Ronda's good. Like, I know that half of your comment section is about to hate what I'm going to say. I have thought Ronda has been quite good since returning. I am not saying she is for everybody, and I certainly think the way she exited the sport was bad, right? And she can be grating, but like, I'm struggling to see a lot of things in her return that have felt super off or bad. And like, of that clip, Luke, the only thing that I'm like, yeah, that's wrong, is she doesn't owe the Fertittas and Dana White shit. She's probably one of the more underpaid fighters in the history of the UFC, given what she made at the time and what she did for that company. So like, and the idea that she owed, like, that's just such a mouth breather, like, viewpoint to be like, the UFC made you show some respect. Fuck off. Just fuck off.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. All right, so let's now turn our attention to the actual fight itself. This preview is presented by Netflix. Watch Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano live only on Netflix, Saturday, May 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Jed, we'll start here on this question, which is, listen, there is obviously a factor here of like, what is Rousey going to be like after 10? What is Gina going to be like? I mean, I saw
17, Luke. 17 years.
Dog, I was 29 when I saw her fight. I was in my 20s. When I saw her fight. Look at me now. I'm beating 50's door down. Okay, so I just don't know what to expect from them. But there are ways to maybe get a little glimpse of something. Show us a couple of these face-offs. First of all, you'll recall Rousey spent most of her career, all of her career up to this point, at 135. This fight will be at 45. To me, Jed, she looks, well, like way more muscled than Gina. Maybe not naturally the same size at 45 that Gina is, but much more muscled than Gina, and certainly much more muscled than even she was at 35. Do you have a sense about size being a factor here, or how 45 will play out for Rousey versus 35?
I just, in general, doubt size is going to matter. I'm also, you absolutely mind fucked me right now, Luke, because I was like, how old was I the last time Gina fought? It was like, I just turned 21, which is horrifying. I was a week into being 21 is nuts.
Yeah, awesome.
To your question, I doubt size matters just because, like, Gina, you know, we talk in this sport about ring rust from 2 years off. Gina's 17 years off. And at least for Rousey, 10 years is obviously almost half of that layoff, right? For much of that, she was doing athletic stuff. Like pro wrestling is predetermined, but there is a lot of physicality and athleticism involved in that as well. And, you know, she had been training judo the past couple of years. Like she was not that far removed from competition. Gina Carano is at the peak of her powers, was not what we would like. If you transported peak Gina Carano into modern day MMA, she wouldn't be very good. And she's 17 years removed from the peak of her powers and hasn't been like sharpening the tools. You never know because both women are coming in. There is such a question mark, but like it's hard for me to imagine Ronda won't be able to throw her because Gina might be like a little bit bigger, you know?
Yeah, I cannot imagine that it's going to be an issue. This is also kind of part where the Ronda Rousey erasure I do think is worth having a quick note about, which is like, for example, like there's things you can see now that you've seen for a long time that are going to be obviously, you know, at a bare minimum a head scratcher. Long Island, show the footage from Rousey's open workout. Now, this is not the throwing she was doing, the judo. This is just the boxing. It doesn't look super inspiring, I think would be a pretty fair way to say this, although, you know, decent crowd showing up, I'm told, at this event, so that should be noted. But the point I want to make is about the fight. I also, though, however, saw people like clowning her throws because she was doing what they call like fitting in, which is where they practice stepping into position before setting up a forward throw, and like people were like saying that looked goofy, and I guess if you don't know what you're looking at, it does. But the point I'm trying to make, Jed, is like they were going after her almost no matter what. It was as if, yeah, okay, she's got an Olympic medal. It's so long ago, it's to be irrelevant. And my feeling is she's a lifelong athlete. She's been competing at a world level since she was, I think, you know, close to 10 years old. She's almost 40. You know, this is somebody who has an athletic pedigree far in excess of Gina Carano, which isn't to say that's an automatic guarantee she'll win, but I do feel like there's a part of what Ronda did and how she won. And I saw this too this week, Jed. People saying, oh, who's like, she compared herself to Mike Tyson, and there was a bunch of comments being like, no one's ever compared you to Mike Tyson. Dana White himself compared her to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson compared Ronda Rousey to himself. Like, yes, they did. You can hate those comparisons or say they aged poorly, fine. But they speak to what she meant to the public at that time. And I feel like everything that she did, a lot of that has gotten lost by the current fan base. And so I've seen a lot of them say, you know, she's got no chance of winning despite being a heavy favorite. It's been weird to kind of watch Rousey reintroduced to the newer side of the sport.
It's been super strange. The Mike Tyson comparison is like almost perfect. And if you can't see that, it feels like you probably weren't present and just have no ability to do comparisons at all, because like Mike Tyson rose very quickly, got super famous, was the champion of the world, had one dude punch him in the face, and then kind of collapsed, you know. And then outside of that, Ronda did not go full Mike Tyson, and that's good. Nobody should go full Mike Tyson. But like their athletic careers have a lot of similarities if you are looking at them broadly, and not like Ronda can't kill people with one punch. Well, yeah, no shit. She's not the heavyweight champion of the world. It has been super frustrating at times for people to just treat Ronda Rousey like she sucks. For years, this has sort of been a continuing process of just like invalidating her whole career. And a lot of that's her fault, right? Like the way she left the sport was so bad. Like so bad that you kind of understand it, but she is the second, at worst, third biggest star in the history of MMA. She is largely responsible for women's mixed martial arts existing in its current iteration. Certainly being in the UFC, she's almost exclusively responsible for that and its continued presence. And she was at one time, like you said, lifelong athlete, a good athlete, and was at one time like legitimately a very good fighter. Limited, 100%. Like no one's here saying that, but like Gina Carano was just like was the initial seed of something, but not so much for her ability. Like go back and watch Gina Carano fight. She is not an amazing fighter. And so unless she got way better in the 17 years and she's sneakily been training a lot, this feels like we know what's going to happen.
Are you expecting a first round finish? Actually, you know what? Let me ask it this way. Are you expecting a first minute finish?
So this is where I think the thing I'm most curious about in this fight as a whole, outside of just like, this is weird, because they have been so respectful, because Ronda is clearly so respectful of Gina in particular. Like the way she speaks of her is, you know, as if she genuinely cares about her as a person and like wants the best for her and does respect that Gina kind of was the vanguard of what her career became. Does she maybe not just, you know, Sarah McManner and just thump her instantaneously? Because that would be bad, right? Like if she goes out here and throws her and immediately arm bars her, maybe that's better for Ronda. Like that gives her the finish to the career she wanted. But is that really that satisfying of an outcome for her? It's not leading to more fights. Ronda may or may not fight again after this. So I wonder, and I kind of think this might end up not fully looking like, you know, a sparring session between training partners, but the Ronda doesn't go full ham right away, maybe carries Gina a little bit before they get into a tie-up. She tosses her and grabs an arm.
Yeah, my feeling is there's no way it gets out of the first round. Well, no way. Highly unlikely it gets out of the first round. I would take the under that it stays there. So Rousey has kind of said that this might be one and done. If she goes in there and just houses Gina, which is very likely to happen, do you think that they try and set up a home rematch on Netflix? Is it true that this would be a one and done for Rousey under the conditions I've set forth here?
I think the smart money says that it's one and done, but I want to take that she's going to fight again, and less so because of a home rematch. I do think I think that makes the most sense promotionally. I am a little curious if Ronda really wants to do that because that fight went so poorly for her and, you know, scar tissue or whatever. But the reason I think I would pick Ronda to fight again, even if I think the odds should maybe not be lean this way, is that the way Ronda has spoken about she really wants MVP MMA to be a thing for good and bad reasons, you know, however you want to view that. But if it's going to be a thing, there are only so many bullets in the gun. Like the UFC just has everybody. So how can you put on more? What other fights can you do big events on Netflix with if you're only doing big stuff? You know, we can do a Francis Ngannou versus Eddie Hall or something spectacular and weird. But at some point, she is still the biggest name that's outside of the UFC. So it would just be like, all right, let's throw her in there. And, you know, she might have to do it if she really is invested in building MVP into something.
Long Island, what is your sense about the main event?
I think Rousey finishes her. Probably a sub. I'd be too worried to pick sub, though. I did take her by finish just because I feel like her last few wins have been ground and pound finishes. But I don't think, Jed, I know you said you think it goes a little long, like she carries her a little bit. I'm with you, LT. I think it ends in under 1.5. Maybe not the first round, but
I don't think this goes into like the third round. I want to be really clear on that. But like,
think it hits the over
only
1.5?
Tate pushed her there. You know what I mean?
I think this is going to end around the back half of the first round.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, I think
she's not going to run across the cage, dump her and tap her, you know. I don't think that's going to happen. If it, like, I won't be stunned because she can do that. But again, it feels like she just doesn't want to embarrass Gina Carano in this situation. That would be embarrassing.
I feel like she wants to embarrass her. It's Ronda Rousey, you know. She's kind of like go fuck yourself kind of girl, you know. She's ready.
That was 10 years ago. Long on. I was a very different person 10 years ago. You know, she's mom man. And just a way different person now. Well, kind of a different person.
But, you know, 17 years ago, Jed, that's like you graduated high school in that time. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts.
In any event, mark me down. One last thing. Play the Gina open workout very quickly. Just take a look at this. You know, she looks to be in good, like, I think her weight will be fine, you know, but like, I don't know, man. I'm not really sure. Listen, she could probably punch way harder than Ronda. She's still probably a better striker than Ronda, to be honest with you, if I had to guess. But it's like this estimation of what she can do. It just seems so impossible to come by. And I don't read too much into these open workouts, Jed, but like, I don't know. She fought at a time where the sport was still doing 3-minute rounds. You know what I mean?
Dude,
like it's just a
wild, isn't it?
completely different era of the sport.
I mean, as far as Gina's done some promotion, it has been to talk about how she fought when, they didn't have training, they didn't have game plans and stuff. And so she's feeling better about this. But yeah, Gina could hit, but Gina's not like Amanda Nunes. Like, she's not that kind of a thumper.
Yeah, right.
And so, like, even if she can, she probably is like a better striker than Ronda, because Ronda was never good, despite being on the cover of magazine. She was never good at this. And she looked bad at the open workout, but why would you anticipate? It's not like she's been doing boxing for a lot lately. Like, of course, she's just always going to be the same. If this were a striking match, Gina probably wins. But like, even if Ronda says, "Hey, we're going to do a little bit, like I'm going to show my hands for a little bit," it wouldn't totally shock me if Ronda did in fact knock her out, because as bad as she is at striking, she's still got power, and Gina hasn't fought in 17 years. So I don't know, but maybe, even if she does do a little bit of striking, it seems unlikely to me that Gina's going to really spark her. She might hit her and Ronda will go, "Oh, okay, I guess it's time to grab you and end this."
All right. With that in mind, let's pivot now to topic number 2, which is the rest of that MVP card. We'll put everything else on the card on this one. There's a lot to get to. Your co-main event, Nate Diaz taking on Mike Perry. We've kind of talked about the promotional side of this. The question for you, Jed, is would you agree of all the fights on the main card, this one, A, has the most fun potential, and B, seems to be the hardcore fans' delight?
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking main card fights, the Saladin Parnasse fight, which I know we're going to talk about, that could be more fun. That is also like right up there in fun potential. But this is the fight that's really drawing in the hardcore fan base, right? Like, and as soon as they announced it, I was like, I can't believe I never considered that could be a fight that would happen on this event. This is really, really smart. Like, it's really, I am frankly really compelled by the matchup. I don't think this is one of the best welterweight fights in the world or whatever, but Mike Perry has not done MMA for a long time. He has been doing bare knuckle and boxing. Those are both very different. BKFC's 2-minute rounds, right? Like, he's done 5 rounds in BKFC. That's 10 minutes. That's 2 MMA rounds. And even like, if you go and just look at this as all right, who's the better MMA fighter? Nate is a much better total MMA fighter, but he's much older, hasn't competed at all in a while. There are compelling facets to how this matchup works. And I think everybody else just in general is like, even if you don't care about the nuts and bolts, which I think are interesting, when are these two dudes in boring fights? Like, what was the last like super boring Mike Perry fight or Nate Diaz fight? Nate has gotten a little bit more boring as he's gotten a little older and his volume has dropped a bit, but they get in there, the bullets are flying in an MMA fight. We're going to have some fun.
One of the producers on this show thinks that what's going to happen here, this is his opinion, he thinks that fight's going to start, and over time, Mike Perry is going to beat him up, and this is going to be one of those moments where Nate really won't be able to recover, not physically per se, but like the damage to his stock. What do you make of that idea?
I don't think Nate Diaz's stock can get damaged. It's sort of his superpower is that it doesn't really matter. He will always be Nate Diaz, and always has this magical ability to, even in fights that he has been deeply uncompetitive in, get some sort of a backdoor exit out of. At the end of the Leon fight, he hurt him for 20 seconds. Like, actually, if this were 7 rounds, Nate probably would have finished him or whatever. The Masvidal BMF fight is like, well, they got stopped on a cut. Like, this is the story of Nate Diaz is he would have won but for X. And so even if he does lose to Mike Perry, I just don't think it's going to ruin his stock. And I think he's got a good chance at beating Mike Perry. Yes, Mike Perry is much younger. Yes, Mike Perry hits hard. Mike Perry was never like a huge one-shot KO artist in MMA. Nate Diaz is still quite durable.
One-shot Jake Ellenberger.
He's done it, but it's not like, he has the dim mock death. He's not Poatan, where it's like, okay. And Nate Diaz has always been super durable. So like, maybe Nate's going to get cut. He's going to be bleeding for sure. But again, does Mike Perry start hitting him and think, I'm just going to keep hitting him and punch himself out because he's used to fighting for 10 minutes and not 25? This being a 5-round, this is a 5-rounder, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this being 25 minutes is just like, and I think things that like people haven't really considered. Nate's a very good fighter in the clinch. This isn't boxing. This isn't like we're going to have some time in the clinch. Nate can knee him. I think Mike Perry is going to start quite strong. I don't think he's going to get Nate out of there. And if he doesn't, and God help him, if this goes to the floor, it's curtains. This is a wrap. So I think Nate has a really good chance to win this fight. I don't know. Like he's old. And so you always have to be like, dude, he hasn't fought in a couple of years and he's in his 40s. But this is a great matchup for him to at least look fun. And as long as he doesn't look like, if he starts looking like Nick did when he came back after however many years to do the Lawler fight, like that was tough. But I don't have any reason to believe Nate will look like that in this.
I just want to say this. I think I'm not picking Mike Perry per se, but I actually feel like this is a very good opportunity for him to win. Okay, so since leaving UFC and going to BKFC, he's got wins over MVP, Michael Venom Page, Luke Rockhold, who he stopped in the second, Eddie Alvarez, who he stopped in the second. This guy's old, but Thiago Alves, who he stopped in the first, and then Jeremy Stevens, who he stopped in the fifth. Now, those are not all the freshest names, certainly, but neither is Nate Diaz.
Nate's not fresh either. So that's
neither
fine.
is he. Dude, Mike Perry's ability to have a second act post UFC has been one of the best I've ever seen. Now, here's Nate at the open workouts. You can see just doing it for the fans, doing it for the cameras. He is beloved. I think he's got more ways to win. He could snatch a guillotine, like lightning. We all know that. I don't know exactly that he will, but it's certainly on. It changes. This is not BKFC. If this were BKFC, I would straight up pick Mike Perry, right?
It wouldn't even be close if this were BKFC. It's obviously
so this is a little different, and for that reasons, I think you could pick Nate. However, I think this one could get interesting. I really do. I think it could be a lot of fun. So
I think almost certainly going to be fun. Like how would it not be fun unless like Mike cuts him immediately and the fight ends after?
Holy shit, Mike! I didn't realize this. I'm sorry to cut you off, Jed. I apologize. Mike is the favorite, minus 205. Nate at plus 170. I might have to switch my pick. So you're going to stick with Nate?
I am sticking with Nate, man. It's MMA. He gets to kick him. He gets to knee him. I think if they go to the ground, we're done. We don't even need to talk about this. Right. So like,
just
give me
for
Nate
fun,
Diaz for the upset.
Just for funsies, I'm going to stick with Mike Perry, but that's a fun fight for sure. I don't know what to say about Francis Ngannou fighting Felipe Lins. This was not the guy that they wanted Francis to fight. And they got, Felipe is a credible opponent in as much as a good modern heavyweight can be. He's experienced. He's won some good fights. He's well-rounded enough. He's fought in big organizations, and he's won in the PFL to a considerable degree. He's trying to add some star power and credibility to the MVP card, but is there, just speaking honestly, what is this fight? Is it a setup to use Francis again? Because it's not about the Felipe Lins business, and I think we all know that.
This is just a setup to use Francis again. And we go back to what we talked at the top of the show about like what is viewership for this. They wanted to put their best foot forward for this, and so let's get the biggest people we can. And the answer to that is Francis. There aren't that many great opponents. The guy they were, if they had done the Rico fight, that would have been probably not that fun of a fight because Francis probably just tackles him, but it would have felt big, spectacular, interesting. This does not. That's a tough scene, but the idea is just to watch Francis, nuke some dude. Kind of wouldn't matter who it is. And Felipe Lins is credible enough to at least be like, all right, we haven't thrown him in there against Jed, like that would be bad to throw them against like a total can, but you give them hey, here's a credible dude. He can knock him out. And this, to me, the primary goal of this is to set up the next Francis fight with them. So I don't know if, they're going to be able to pull that off. They'll have to negotiate, but MVP has plans to, depending on how this goes, we want to do more. Well, you put Francis in against, maybe you can't get Rico, but we've got this Robelos to Spain JDS fight. You put him in against the winner of that, maybe something can happen for a Netflix card. If they're trying to build, this is hey, we've got this guy, watch him kill somebody. Next time he will be the star of the show.
I'll just say this for Felipe Lins. He is not a takedown machine, but for his UFC stats, we do have those. He averaged 1.65 takedowns per 15 minutes. So, they were present in fights that went long, such that matters. And in fact, in his win over his last UFC fight, in his win over Iwan Kutelaba in March of 2024, he got 2 takedowns in that fight. He got 4 against Marcin Prachnio. So he'll do it on occasion. Not to say that Francis is some kind of scrub to defend a takedown, but how he might stall it out. Now that could be kind of interesting. I guess we'll see. By the way, Francis Ngannou, a minus 1350 favorite. Felipe Lins plus 800. I mean,
pretty big.
Yeah,
it's a lot of a
Let's
number.
turn our attention, if we can, very quickly. Probably the biggest sleeper fight on the card, because unless you're really a hardcore fan, there's really no need to know these names. But if you are a hardcore fan, then you know what time it is. Saladin Parnasse, who tried to become the triple champ over in KSW, failed, but was now the double champ at 145 and 155. Just an absolute phenom. By the way, fought pro boxing recently, and I had people in boxing writing me, telling me, yo, this MMA guy is actually not too bad. He takes on Kenny Cross, who I didn't call his last fight, but I called the one before it, Jed, where he was headlining an XFC card. He's let me just say this about Kenny
Killed the
Cross.
dude in 12 seconds.
Yes. He beat a guy from Argentina, Lucas Corbaji. Kenny Cross wrestled growing up. He trains at Syndicate. He's American. He had this he had beaten Enrique Barzola in the fight before I called for him. Then he beats this other dude, just blows the doors off of him. I thought, oh, for sure, they're going to pull him on Contender Series, right? There's just no, and then the post-fight interview, I interviewed him, and he was like, it's like UFC or bust for me, which XFC was cool with, And then, dude, there was a heavyweight on that card who I did not think was that good. He got the call up to Contender Series, and then, by the way, lost very badly on it. And I'm like, how has the UFC passed on a guy who's well-rounded, trains at a good gym, is American, young enough to still do something in the sport? Why were they not interested in him? I have no clue. But in any case, that's MVP's gain. I just kind of introduced Saladin Parnasse. Tell me what you love about this fight and what you think's on the line here.
This is Saladin Parnasse versus a credible opponent, and that's what I love about this fight. I don't think Kenny Cross is amazing, but like you said, this is a dude, he is at a good gym, has fought decent opposition, has mostly performed quite well, especially and the thing is, when you fight down, you should murder people, right? And he has largely done that. He's well-rounded enough to compete in all phases, even though I think, there are some things where pluses and minuses, right? But this is and the odds would suggest this, even if the odds are maybe a hair long. This is a Saladin Parnasse show. Parnasse is quite possibly the best fighter not under UFC contract in the world. Certainly on the very short list, if he is not number one. He is awesome. If you've watched KSW in general, if you haven't, go watch KSW. It's a great product. He is dynamic on the feet. I didn't watch his boxing match, so I'd have no idea. But you could see how some of that could translate to boxing. He does a really good job of sort of cutting into angles when he is on offense in a way that you don't see that much in MMA. Super well-rounded, nasty ground and pound. So I think my favorite part of his game, he's not the best wrestler, but when he gets you down, he is not, he, as Ronda Rousey said, he is not doing the whatever holding kumquat thing. He is trying to beat the shit out of you if he's got you on the floor. Even from guard, he's putting in good work. Saladin Parnasse is here. And while we didn't get the best opponent for Francis, here's a dude who is going to not just roll over and die against him. We should get a scrap.
Fair enough. I think that's a decent assessment. The odds make Kenny a long shot. That's probably fair. Parnasse is special in ways that I think he'll probably show his quality on Saturday, but that one seems like a ton of fun if you ask me. All right, which brings us to the opener on the card. Junior Dos Santos at plus 275 by our friends at DraftKings, taking on Robelis de Spain at minus 345. The last time I saw JDS fight, I think he had a bare knuckle one after this, but the last time I'm saying I saw him fight in MMA, he threw his shoulder out against Jorgen de Castro, and the fight was over as a consequence. His chin went before that. Despain isn't good for much except early lightning hand speed and dominant KO power. I kind of agree with Despain being a heavy favorite here, even though JDS as a fighter was just at his peak, vastly better than Despain ever was.
So JDS had 2 bare knuckle MMA fights.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Since then, still hasn't fought in a while. This is like Rebellis should be a favorite if JDS is dumb. Like that's the simplest way I can put this. And JDS has been talking like he's dumb. I don't know if this is a ruse, if this is a big plan, but JDS, has been like, oh, I'm glad they've given me a guy who's going to throw hands. Buddy, if your plan is to fight Rebellis Despain with the mitts, you are going to be unconscious inside of 3 minutes. However, if you just tackle him, you've probably won the fight, right? Like this is an IQ test. If you don't shoot a takedown, you are dumb and you are going to get knocked out. If you shoot a takedown, ask Waldo Cortez Acosta and Austin Lane. You're probably just going to tip that dude over and he has nothing to offer you on the floor. JDS, I assume, is a black belt. I know he is like a very competent grappler, because we have seen that. And so just like, maybe this is all a plan. Say, I'm going to tell him that I'm striking to lull him into a sense of security. And then here comes the blast double, Cain Velasquez style. But if he doesn't, this is going to end shortly and brutally for Junior.
Is there any interest? And the answer for me is no. I want to be very clear. Is there any interest in Francis Ngannou versus JDS 2?
No, not at all. It would be much better for them if Rebellis won this fight, because I do think you can sell Rebellis Francis. Not that fight is massively interesting, by the way. Like Francis will tackle him, but at least Rebellis, you can do the Renan Fajeda. He's so big. Look at how big he is.
Yeah, and he's got a fun highlight reel. He does.
He does a fun highlight reel. He's karate combat in the way Mike Perry was just perfect for BKFC. Rebellis really is kind of perfect for karate combat. We're doing this, and he at least would have like a puncher's chance to beat Francis. I wouldn't pick him, obviously, but if they book Francis Jr. too, like we're sending an old man to the gallows in a horrible way. We shouldn't be doing that.
Long Island, who's a bigger lock? Because at the same odds from DK, is it Francis Ngannou or Saladin Parnasse?
I hate that word, Luke. I hate the word lock, but I would say, fuck, man. I want to say Ngannou because I took Kenny Cross with the spread plus 7.5. He just has to win 1 round. Hoping he doesn't get finished. He probably does. But yeah, so I'm going to say Ngannou, but at the same time, I feel like both of them are capable of fumbling that big ass line real quick.
You think Francis is capable of fumbling that line?
I mean, I don't think he loses, Jed. I think he wins 9 times out of 10, but like Felipe Lins isn't bad. He's just smaller. He's a 205er, isn't he? He's
he's a real 205er. And
he was a heavyweight.
Lins will fight conservatively. So that's kind of the issue. Like there was, a lot of guys tried to like, oh, I'm going to face down the beast. And then they got fucking stretched. He's not going to do that. He's not going to try and face him. He's going to try and find a place to just, not lose or potentially take advantage of a mistake. And that could make the fight a little, not dicey per se, but boring or I don't know, uneventful maybe.
Yeah, especially because I made this comp earlier this week. If you are an underdog, the way you pull off these mega upsets is not, not being conservative and let's stay really tight. It's like you just go for broke, man. Like Matt Serra didn't beat GSP because he stuffed a bunch of takedowns and tried to win on the margins. He just chucked them and it worked. Like that's what you got to do if you're going to be this big a dog. And
yeah, I mean, if it's
maybe
close,
he does it.
You got to be
It'd be
more
really
measured.
funny if he did it.
It would be, dude, if Felipe Lins wins, I mean, Felipe Lins he's got this like insane career where let's posit a scenario and we'll move on after this, but let's posit the scenario very quickly. Felipe Lins, 18-5, currently 40 years of age. This is all borrowed time. Dude has not lost since June of 2020. Okay. To point that out. Right. And then before that, he was in PFL and won the PFL tournament in 2018. So this guy, dude, has just found himself little pockets to get ahead. He ended his UFC run on a 4-fight win streak. He's going to get a big payday from this. He got a big payday from PFL. My man has found ways to like kind of hang around and do some interesting stuff for a dude who's like, not bad by any stretch, but just kind of modestly good. It's quite remarkable. All right.
Very
Go ahead.
respectable career, man. Very respectable.
Yes, he's got the, he's got a bit of that Colt McCoy career where he's just, you're never the starter, but you got some cash from it.
Been in the league for a long time. Got paid enough,
Exactly. All right, let's turn our attention now to the UFC, which is, holy Jesus. I have good news for everybody. I have good news. The good news is we'll start with the main event, which is legitimately good, and I have nice things to say. So let's do that. All right, we are back with the Apex events this week, Jed. I'm never going to call it Meta Apex. That's for hoes, and I'm not one of them. Arnold Allen has lost 3 of his last 4, yet Melqui Costa is on an absolute heater, and of course coming off the best win of his career over Dan Ige. Is the UFC finally cashing Allen out after he has been unable to break through after so many years? Only 32 years old, but they've kind of given him that elevation test a bunch, and he just really hasn't found a way to make it work. Are they saying, you know what? Let's just cash this dude out and bring in the new blood?
I hadn't really thought of it in those terms, but they're creating the opportunity for that, right? Like I think Arnold Allen is the betting favorite on this one, and Arnold can absolutely still win this fight. But this does feel like the purpose of this matchup from the UFC standpoint is, what do we have with Melqui, right? Like, is he a top 5 guy, or is he just going to fall back and Arnold gets to hold serve for a little bit here? Because they have given Arnold Allen some chances and he has not quite gotten there, right? Like, it has just been, he has been very competitive in losing to the best dudes he's fought, which is admirable, but that doesn't get you shit, like there's no prize for that in this sport. The prize is, okay, you are a gatekeeper to the stars. Here's a guy we want to see if he's a star, and we're going to find out, because I do think Arnold Allen at this point of his career still is a really good test for, are you championship material? We just saw that with John Silva, like, oh, John Silva's championship material. Okay. But it pains me to say, because I really like Arnold Allen, I don't think the title run's happening for him.
If you want to know what the Melqui Costa win streak is, he beats Shaylon Nurdan-Bieke. I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name, but then it's Andre Fili, Christian Rodriguez, Julian Erosa, Morgan Charrier, and then Dan Ige. And the last 2 of those, in fact, 4 of those, he's won via either rear naked choke, guillotine choke, head kick KO, or spinning back kick on Dan Ige to then ultimately follow up with punches. What is the story of Melqui Costa in your mind? Why has he gotten so much better? Because, if you look at his losses, once to Steve Garcia, which, okay, Garcia is pretty good, and he's competing on the White House card. Fair enough, no big deal. But then he lost to Thiago Moises, who is good, but also kind of limited. And those were both in 2023. So how has he been able to make a turnaround that puts him in this kind of a position, Jed?
I mean, the story, it feels, and maybe this is a bit derivative, but it's just like, he feels to me like a Rafael dos Anjos, like to some extent Charles Oliveira, right? Where it's like, okay, he showed talent early. We knew that he had ability, but a lot of setbacks, a lot of just like not awful losses, but he was never really building momentum. He was also much younger, right? Like, he's only 29, right? He has grown and gotten better time over time as he has come out. He's still very dynamic. That doesn't always lead to finishes, but he stopped Dan Ige, which never happened before or whatever. Like, he is on a linear projection of growth, which is something that does not happen all the time in the sport. Every fighter doesn't just go straight up line, but he is getting better time in and time out. It was facilitated by, he got some not hard matchups for a while there, but now he has the momentum. And this sort of is okay, we've seen you be dynamic against a guy who has been a veteran of this division in Dan Ige for super long, right? Like, super durable. And you kind of just blew him up, right? Like, even though the fight was a little bit competitive before the spinning back kick, like, you ran through Dan Ige. Arnold Allen much more in the prime of his career, right? Like, maybe he's at the tipping point where he's going to be on the decline, but like, this is not a guy who has nearly the miles Dan Ige had on him, has been super durable in his career, has super well-rounded, can take this fight everywhere it goes. And so it's like, okay, can Melqui Costa not do all the component parts of his game work such that you can't take advantage of, all right, maybe he tries to grapple too much off his back instead of, doing a sweep and stand up game, right? Like, we get to find out all these things about it. And because he has progressed so much, I think there's a lot of optimism that, yeah, he's just going to keep, he's still 29. He's still going to keep getting better over the next couple of years and make a real run at this.
I think there's a ton of pressure on Arnold Allen. I want to talk about that more, but first let me play you a clip. He is full of confidence about this. Let's hear this clip, and then let me talk about what I think it means right after.
What kind of mindset, given what you've learned being, shoe on the other foot, are you bringing into this fight?
Yeah, I know what you mean exactly. It's a weird one, but nah, I guess the typical stereotypical thing would be to be like, oh, I'm the experienced guy, I've done this before, he's coming up. But we're all learning the job. He's getting better as he goes, and me too. I'm not done improving yet. There's plenty more of me I could show than I have. I feel like I've done 90%, 80% at best. So I'm gonna go out there and do more, show 100%, and a whole new version of myself. Yeah, I think you're gonna see a career best performance from me. I'm gonna come out and expect to impress.
I mean, the thing is this, right? There's no question about his talent. Certainly, you go back to fights like, for example, the Max Holloway fight, where Max is kind of winning, and then he makes this late surge, and you're like, dude, you could have won this all along. And there's been several fights kind of like that. So it's not a question of his skill. Sometimes it's its output. Sometimes it's offensive urgency. Sometimes it's being too defensively oriented. Putting all of that together with this broader circumstance, Jed, about there's a lot of pressure on him. It's one thing to lose to champions or guys who are number one contenders or top three guys. I'm not saying Costa's some pushover, but he would represent losing to a guy that he ordinarily would not. How do you think? He sounds confident to me. How do you think he sounds, and what kind of pressure do you think is on him to perform here?
This is one of those where at the time, it would be the worst loss of his career, right? He's lost to him looking at it. Max Holloway, Movsar Evloev, Jean Silva, right? And Jean Silva was probably the worst loss of his career before that. This would be the worst. Maybe it ages better because Melqui goes on a run and does a lot of awesome shit, But he has to be feeling the pressure of, I'm still not done, right? Like, he's 32, so he is not out of it. Even if he's got some miles on him, he's been in the UFC a very long time. He can't afford another misstep if he wants to find his way to the title. And, Corey Sandhagen managed to get there, right? Like, had a similar career in some respects, but he kind of got a little bit lucky with the breaks of, well, Merab just wanted to fight so often, and he won one good fight and was the next man up. Arnold probably is not going to get that. He's going to have to string together some wins, and another loss feels like that's definitive for his career. That doesn't mean he retires and doesn't ever compete again, but he has to understand that, like, he can't win one of 5 fights and have realistic title expectations in one of the best divisions in the sport. And so I do think he's confident because, he lost 2 in a row, and then he came in against Giga Chikadze, who also a little bit of hype, maybe not at the time that that shine had dropped off, but it was like, I went from fighting Max and Movsar to Giga, and I beat him. Like, now I fought a really good guy, but I still feel like I have some level of ability to defeat a guy like Melqui, who has some avenues for me to take advantage of. So I think he's confident. I hope he does well because I've always been an Arnold Allen fan. This is a really dangerous fight for him, though.
It certainly is. The odds on this one, Arnold Allen -125, Melqui Costa at +105. Long Island, how do you view what betting should look like on this particular bout?
Well, the odds are kind of interesting because early in the week, like Monday, Arnold Allen was like -198 and Costa was like +160. And when I was doing my research, I was like, oh, Arnold Allen's probably a dog in this fight. So I was kind of shocked to see him as a favorite. I feel like they've gotten a lot closer to where they should be now. I do feel like this is probably going to be a pick 'em by tomorrow night. Man, I don't know which way to lean. I like both guys so much that I just don't want to pick one. But if I had to pick, I'm going to say Arnold Allen by decision. But I don't know who wins this.
The thing for me is when I think about like what the object, or I should say, keys to victory. For Arnold Allen, we talk about like a lack of offensive urgency. In this particular case, I wonder if that might suit him here a little bit, which is to say this is not a 3-round fight. This is a 5-round fight. So number one, I think a guy like Allen's going to have much more veteran experience with that. That's the first thing. Second of all, if it was a 3-round fight, yeah, you got to kind of fight fire with fire. Arnold does best when he can diffuse a guy and then let his offense breathe thereafter. Would you agree, Jed, that Melqui, again, where no one's saying he's a pushover here by any stretch, but that those similar kind of contours could play out here with a guy like Costa who likes to get after it early? He could get frustrated and then begin to either make mistakes or settle into a rhythm that's more accommodating of Allen over the course of a 5-round fight.
I mean, that's sort of the dynamic that has me so intrigued by this matchup, because like Allen he's a TriStar guy, and like he fights like I view TriStar fighters, where he is much more defense first. There's not like a ton of dynamic offense. And historically, I favor the more dynamic fighter, the more rounds there are in a fight, where it's like, okay, maybe he doesn't get him in 1 or 2, but you have to do 25 minutes with a guy who is much more dynamic. That's just a lot of opportunities for success. He can win the fight in one moment. You have to win all of the moments of the fight put together. But in this instance, that does maybe, like you said, fit how Arnold Allen can compete here, because we haven't seen a lot of Melqui Costa if he has been, as you said, diffused, right? Like if you can not fall prey to the dynamism early, and as this fight stretches out into the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, how does he look when his A game is not firing, right? Like does he have a B, C, and D? We just saw Khamzat Chimaev. His A game stopped working and his B game, was competitive, but he ultimately lost the fight with it. Melqui has had such a good run right now. Can he adjust to a guy who is not giving him the same sorts of looks he's gotten before, because Arnold Allen is both so durable and in general so defensively sound? So I think it's a really great fight. Like, this is arguably the best actual fight on the weekend, like all together. And I'm super pumped for it. Rest of the card, not so much.
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. Jed, before we turn our attention to the rest of the card, which is not that great, you and I, you're a pregame preview kind of guy. We have you in there all the time. I think we're going to get you back for the next one. What would you say is your favorite part of meeting up in studio and talking a little UFC with the boys?
Just having some drinks, some Jose Cuervo with the boys, man.
Yes.
Like it's genuinely quite fun.
It is fun. We should get you back for that White House one. I think it's going to be a great time. But for the time being, let's say this. We love, you guys know this, we love our tequila here at Morning Kombat. And by tequila, I mean, of course, our friends at Cuervo. From face-off to final decision, Fight Night delivers the adrenaline and Cuervo the energy to match it. Whether you're hosting your crew at home or you're at pregame preview in studio or catching the action at a bar, Cuervo brings the good vibes that turn every round into a celebration. From margaritas to palomas, I'm partial to the margaritas. Every main event simply tastes better with the world's most iconic tequila. No matter who walks out with the belt, with Cuervo in hand, you're already celebrating like an undisputed champion. For every round, keep it fun, keep it Cuervo. And of course, we're looking forward to a fun night of fights this weekend. Plenty more UFC to come throughout the warmer months as well. And Cuervo is going to be there the whole way. Big thanks to our friends at Cuervo, and cannot wait to be back in studio. Hey, producer of the show, am I allowed to say when we're going back in yet? Or do we have a date? I know we're working on a date. I don't think we have the date fully locked in. Oh, we do have. Is it locked in? I'm waiting for him to say yes. He says, think so. Okay. How about this?
Luke,
we're tentatively targeting the 9th of June. So we'll see how that goes.
Dope. Luke, on the Cuervo tip, I have recently discovered a batanga. Are you aware of what a batanga is?
I will confess I do not know what that is.
It's a Blanco tequila, so Cuervo can cover you there. Coke and lime, and it's awesome. There's a really good Mexican spot near me, and they do it by just like, they've got the Mexican Coke bottle. They pour out half the Coke. They fire the Cuervo into it, spritz the lime, give her, it has become one of my preferred beverages. So next time we do it, I'll be running one of those.
Oh, that's a good idea. What's really kind of interesting is, have you been to the Coke Museum in Atlanta?
We did that when I was in like middle school and we took a trip. I have not been since as an adult.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go just to remember what it's like, but it feels real weird to do that as like a grown man.
I haven't been in, I don't know, 30, 40, whatever, how many years it's been, 35 years or something, whatever. I went in middle school as well. And because Coke is based out of Atlanta.
Mhm.
And so if you're from Georgia, like they made us when I was at Valdosta High School, they made us our own Coke bottle when we won the national title. It was like a cool thing. But like people came to me and they're like, "Oh, what you really got to have is Mexican Coke." And I'm like, "How good could it be if Coke is from Atlanta,
So
like
much
Georgia?
better.
How good could it be?" And so then I tried it and I was like, "Okay, it's pretty good. It's pretty
cane
good."
sugar, baby.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
The cane sugar actually makes a huge difference. So I was taken surprised by the first time I had it. All right. I don't know what to say. Topic number 4, Jed. Holy shit. Let's turn our attention to the rest of that card. Let me just say this. Let me just start this conversation here on this one. This is the worst UFC card of the year. I mean, there are a couple of fights below the main event that you wouldn't, kick out of bed, so to speak. We'll talk about it, the Choi and Santos fight, as well as the Wellmaker and Diaz fight. But basically anything else, it's just, I don't know what it's supposed to mean for the product. The Gurule fight with Barres might mean be okay too, but holy shit, where does this fight rank on the power rankings of UFC events in 2026?
It's buns. It's real
it's
big
buns.
We say this a lot. I do think this is the worst card of the year on paper. Maybe it ends up being fun. You never know. I love the main event, so that gives it some traction, but there are not a lot of bright spots. There are some things I'm pretty interested. I do like the co-main event this weekend. I don't think that's like a great fight, but Daniel Santos versus Duho Choi is pretty fun. There are a couple of other things here. If you got nothing else to do, fine Saturday, but like this being the counter program to the big names of MVP MMA is, they used to put Anderson Silva on to counter program people, and now we've got this. It's not the same.
It's insane, dude. If you lived through the UFC counter programming era and like how aggressive they were about this kind of stuff, and it didn't always work. Sometimes the counter programming worked, sometimes it didn't. But like the amount of effort that was put into counter programming,
at least.
Yeah. I remember when the initial, do you remember the initial, this may be you may be too young for this. I don't recall, but the initial fight that was thought of to counter program Affliction was originally going to be Brandon Vera versus Vanderlei Silva. I think was one what they had floated, and they initially had settled on something else. It was Silva and James Irvin, right? Was that the one that they went with?
Yes, I think the James Irvin.
Double check that Long Island to see if that was the one they initially went with. But in any case, that is not where we're at now. Now, I actually think it's a good thing for MVP's sake that like they're going to have the evening, so to speak. It's fine. But Jesus Christ, this card is like, I mean, it's so bad. It's so bad. So here's what I'm going to ask. Let's start with the two fights that I think are kind of fun or, otherwise they've got some respectability to them. You've got Malcolm Wellmaker from Georgia, if I recall.
Yes.
He
Maybe
is
Tennessee?
back. Or
Maybe Tennessee. I'm trying to remember.
One of the two.
No, he's Augusta.
Yeah, Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah.
That's right.
He is coming off that loss to Ethan Ewing, which was a bit of a surprise. Juan Diaz had a nice run of Contender Series, but I think this is his UFC debut. This is a get-right fight for a guy like Wellmaker, who was making some noise before Ethan Ewing clipped his wings.
Yeah, this is a get-right. Well, at least the idea that it's a get-right fight, but Juan Diaz isn't totally without ability here. But with Wellmaker, he's so old that how you can't give him like a ton of, all right, let's start him back at the very bottom. He's got to get going. He's 31. Like he has to get moving. And the Ewing fight was a bit of a setback. He should beat Juan Diaz, right? But Juan Diaz is not like well-rounded, fairly durable. He's a champion of Lux Fight or whatever, or was a champion. I guess he's not that anymore.
That's a bullshit league, by the way.
Yeah, but still. And he had a sick KO on Contender Series. That backfield was awesome. So, we talked about this in some other ones. Like Malcolm Wellmaker should win, but he probably should have beaten Ethan Ewing given the short notice nature of it. And Ethan Ewing is actually a pretty good prospect in his own right. This is a step down from that, but it's not. I mean, he's not Saladin Parnasse. He's not Francis Ngannou. Like this, he can lose this fight.
And that, of course, takes you to the other side of the ledger here, or that's not the other side of the ledger. The other big fight big fight. The other good fight on this main card, which is the Doo Ho Choi fight against Daniel Santos. This one is kind of fun. Doo Ho Choi, since coming back from his mandatory service to the government, had a draw against Kyle Nelson from Canada, who's a good fighter. He beats Bill Algeo in the second round. Then he beats Nate Landwehr in the third. Santos, for his part, currently sits at 31 years of age and is entering this contest. This will be the third straight Korean that he's fought, by the way. Jong Young Lee was the first one, then Ju Sang Yu. I don't quite know why they keep giving him Koreans, but he won both of those, and he beat the last one in the second round. Like, size this up. Is this not a get-right fight, because that's not quite true for Doo Ho Choi, but it seems like it's maybe like an all-action banger that favors Choi.
The odds makers would disagree with you on that.
Oh, is that right?
Unless something has changed dramatically in the last 48 hours. Last I saw, Santos was the favorite.
Modest favorite, yeah.
I do think this is just a banger of a fight. Is where like, what are they doing with Doo Ho Choi? Like, do they believe in him to make a run? I don't think so at this point. And so I'm not saying they believe in Daniel Santos in that, but like, this is just, hey man, let's smash these two action figures together. They are both fun guys who should lead to a very fun fight. It is super weird that this is Willie Cat's third South Korean fighter in a row. I'm not sure why this is happening, but great gimmick. So, let's bring Korean Zombie out of retirement, baby. Let's do this next. Just keep moving up the chain.
Were you around? This is going to be an old school reference. Were you around when Alex Stiebling beat a bunch of Brazilians and then began to call himself the Brazilian Killer, and then had to fight Anderson Silva, and Anderson Silva was like, "Nah, player, we're not playing that fucking game today." He was a good fighter, but that Brazilian Killer gimmick came to a screeching fucking halt.
But it's good if you can get a gimmick like that. Like we dubbed Nicholas Dalby the Brazilian Killer because he fought like 6 Brazilians and beat them. It was just like, this rocks. Like, you got to find ways for, if you are a mid-carder, to stand out. And I don't know why this has happened, and I don't know how many more South Korean opponents there are available for him to fight after this, but like, good gimmick.
How are you betting on these last two fights that we discussed, Long Island?
I got to look back at these. So Doo Ho Choi, Willie Santos, or Willie Cat Santos. I took the over 1.5 in that. I took, what is that? Wellmaker. I also took I took a lot of over 1.5s on this. I'm not going to lie. I took the over 2.5 in the main event. I had Modestas Bukauskas money line in a parlay, but that was back when he was fighting Adolfo Bellato. That is now voided. I have Bernardo Sapai money line, and I have the over 1.5 in Veretnikov Chaos Williams. So.
Yeah. Fair enough. I'll be honest. Like, these other fights on the main card, Bukauskas is a pretty big favorite over Christian Edwards, which probably should be. He's massively improved. The other fights on here, like, for example, Chaos Williams, he's fun taking on Nikolai Veretennikov, but Veretennikov just makes a lot of mistakes. I don't know what to say honestly about the rest of this card. Would you say that the other like legit fight on this card is the Ketlin Vieira Jacqueline Cavalcanti fight down the line at the 135?
For sure. Well, I mean, obviously, it's got to be, right. Like, they're ranked fighters. So is women's bantamweight. So how do people feel a type of way about that? Not without reason, but like that's the best fight on the card outside of what we've talked about. I don't know that it will be that fun. Both have shown the ability to be fun, but also, like, this is going 15 minutes. It might not be great. There's some other like, I'm interested to see Tommy Gant. He's also an older prospect. He got a replacement opponent. We'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, there's not a lot. Slim pickings if you're trying to like find the gems of the undercard.
This card sucks, bro.
It's pretty bad, man.
I'm actually so glad. I mean, honestly, I'm so relieved that they're having this MVP card, because like on weekends where like there's no MMA other than UFC, and then it's this, it makes Monday's morning combat so fucking hard to do. You know what I mean?
Think about Long Island. He'll be doing a full card watch along. Think about how tough that makes his life.
I will just also say that the card is bad when Cody Brundage is arguably the best prelim fight. Like Cody Brundage Petrosky, that's arguably the best fight on the prelims as far as like banger potential.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fun. 100%.
As far as two dogs killing each other or something.
No, Long Island. The most fun is Tommy Gant, because we've crafted a fun parlay. Luke, I don't know if you know this. Tommy Gant defeated a man by the name of John Kennedy in his other career prior to this. And on the MVP card, Chris Avila defeated the same John Kennedy. Parlay those two boys up for the Lee Harvey Oswald parlay. Let's have some fun.
Does that make them Eskimo brothers?
Ooh, there should be a term for that in fight that's like Eskimo brothers, but not that.
They both banged the same guy.
They have both banged the same guy, I guess.
That is we have a segment on this show called Eskimo Brothers, and that's literally it. Mutual opponents who have fought the same guy.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God. My eye is twitching now because I got something in it. Sorry. This is not professional, but my eye is twitching. Okay. I don't really want to talk about this card. Can I just be honest about it? Like, the card is ass, and
we talked about the good fight. That's all we needed.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. All right. So without further ado, let's go down to topic number 5. So, okay, let's set this up now. When I was first making the rundown and I was looking ahead in the week to, like, what are the MMA events? I was like, oh, there's a one event this week. And then I was looking at the card, and then I realized, no, wait a second. There are 2 one events this week. There's one in the morning that just happened, and then there's one in the evening. Put up the screenshot for the one in the evening if you can, the card. There it is. So it's going to be the Featherweight MMA World Championship here between Tang and Gasanov. We'll talk about that in just a little bit for a second. But, like, can we just talk about the current state of one, Jed? I watched the one Samurai card with Haggerty and Rod Tang and Takeru, and it was fucking great. I'll be honest with you. It was great to watch. And I wasn't MMA, but it was just, kickboxing essentially. I think there was some MMA on there, but I was only interested in the kickboxing part of it. And it was phenomenal. It was really, really good. And I like watching their product. I like the way it's presented. I like the way it's shown. I like how the rule set accommodates fighting. I like it. But they've lost over $500 million. And to get the good fights on this morning's card as well as this evening's card, like the really, really solid ones, now you got to pay $10 a month on this new kind of all-in streaming plan that they have to get the Rug and Malakin fight as well as the Cade Ruotolo fight this morning. Just like, where is one? Are you expecting an imminent demise? They released, I think, 6 fighters yesterday, John Lineker being one of them. They've let a bunch of their other MMA talent go. Just, I don't even know what to say about one anymore, except they are still putting on fights. Some of them are still pretty good, and so we'll pay attention to them. But what else is, I don't understand what is happening here.
They just feel like a company that's circling the drain. And I wish they weren't, because I'm with you. Like, their product is pretty good, right? Like, it is, they've always done the mixed combat stuff, and that is not always to my taste, quite frankly. Like, I'd watch a kickboxing fight and thing, but like, they've done really great for 4-ounce Muay Thai, right? Like, that has been, I think, their bread and butter of really quality stuff. They've done the grappling, may vary, I don't know. When they do MMA fights, some of them are quite good. Like, I thought the Rug Malakin fight was probably going to suck, just because I watched the first one and it sucked. But it's a pretty relevant fight. Like, those are 2 guys, if you put them in the UFC, would be competitive. I'm not saying they win the title, but those guys, they would have success in the UFC. That's a good fight on paper, at least in concept. And so they have a lot of things that are good as a product to watch. And I guess you just can't burn money endlessly. We've been trending this way, though, right? Like, they've continued to release fighters. They've had public falling out with several of their big name entities. They are almost exclusively operating out of Lumpini at this point. Like, they had an event planned for Atlanta last year that got swapped and canceled. They don't feel like a promotion that's going to exist much longer, at least in even this iteration, right? That they maybe turn into some sort of a more localized Muay Thai promotion, which wouldn't even be bad, but it's a bummer. You always want fighters to have more outlets to do stuff. Again, I think that they have largely done a lot, but they've parted with half of their corporate structure and all these people. Like, nothing that is happening with one portends a long and healthy future. That they seem to be dead or dying. You're muted, Luke.
Sorry. I get why they would want to put their premium stuff behind a paywall, but it's like, you're $500 million plus in debt. Okay. how many of these $10 subs are you planning on selling to make a dent in that? You know what I mean? It's almost
50 million of them.
yeah, it's almost like so it's not offensive in as much as like, oh, we got to put stuff behind the paywall. Okay, fine. But like now that you've burned through the GDP of, you know, a small third world country, like how is that possible? How is it possible that that's a thing that you want to do now? It's really quite strange. I will say this as someone who has watched so many MMA promotions die. What ends up happening often, not all the time, I mean, sometimes it can be quite sudden, right? But sometimes what you'll see is they hang on and hang on and hang on in like an increasingly diminished state. And you'll be surprised how long that lasts. And then all of a sudden that comes to a close at some point. But that process of like, okay, we all know it's over, but they haven't ceased operations. That runway, Jed, can sometimes be really long. It's a little surprising when they do that. Just a note for how this might go. All right.
I mean, that runway's been long for years at this point.
No kidding.
They just keep limping on. Good on them. I hope they do it forever.
So very quickly, what assets do we have for this Rug and Malikan fight, Long Island?
We got the brawl from afterwards. We couldn't get the finish, obviously, because it's copywritten. But
let's see the brawl. So Malikan wins, but then kicks him while he's down after he knocks him out. And here comes in the blue. I
love that dude. That dude coming in just jumping.
So the blue is Malikan's team. So I'm gonna replay it. Malikan starts talking shit to Rug's team in the red.
Oh, is that it?
Right
Okay.
after knocking him out, and then Malikan's boys come flying in with the Superman punch, and then because they start celebrating with Malikan afterwards once they separated.
That's crazy.
Dude, that guy jumping across is awesome. Just like WWE style flying Superman punch.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
Okay. So here's the thing. I was going to talk about this, like what is important for Malikan's future. Malikan doesn't have a future. He literally, he lost the initial fight to Rug. He wins the rematch, which makes him a triple champ, and then decides, okay, you know what? I'm done. So now we just talked about their MMA woes and their woes generally. Now they've lost 3 of their champions at once, Jed. At once. Honestly, dude, after something like this, why would you continue on with the heavyweight division? Who do you have left? You lost Buchecha, you've lost Malikan, you've lost Brandon Vera's long gone. Like, what is even there anymore? I don't know.
Just, cut bait. Let Rug go fight Francis. You know, like, I don't know, but like, pretty disastrous for them to book this, and then Malikan just pulls a Ramazan. It's like, I'm out. Actually, I don't want to do. I just won this belt. I'm good. I don't need it. Good on him. You know, he's not a young man, but he could have stayed and tried to get a fight with. Apparently, being a fighter at one seems quite annoying based on like a lot of stuff people have said. So maybe he just didn't want to deal with the rigmarole of like, maybe I'll fight again in 2 years. This fight took forever to get booked. But yeah, if you're one, you're already collapsing. Like, who are you going to put Rug? Who are you even going to put him in against? Like, who, unless you make a big offer to Francis, and I don't know how, when you've lost that much money, you can convince someone to give you more money to pay to somebody else. But maybe they can do it. I don't know how. Like, I don't know how you get to 500 million in losses, because like I couldn't borrow 10 grand to lose, much less $500 million. But maybe they can get a couple extra and get Francis. But it's just, give it up, let it go, move on to something else.
They're gonna have Rug fight like 2 flyweights in a trench coat here pretty soon. You know what I mean? Just
that would just be funny.
Yeah, just stack 2 flyweights on top of each other. Rug will knock them both the fuck out. It'll be.
They don't
great.
even have Adriano Moraes though. Like, they can't even do that with him anymore.
I don't know if we have anything about the win by Cade Ruotolo, but he actually gets a KO win. Was maybe losing a little bit earlier in this fight, if you can believe it or not, to Tetsuka there, Hiroyuki Tetsuka. Kind of a bit of a slow start for him, but he eventually gets a really respectable KO win, and he eventually finishes him off on the ground. So that's a nice one for him. Now, it brings us to tonight. As we mentioned, the big one here, we're not going to go through this whole card, but it's this. It's Kai Tang versus Shamil Gasanov. Shamil Gasanov, a pretty sizable favorite in a lot of places. I'm seeing him, well in excess of minus 300 in other spots. I realize that Tang is the champion, but it feels like if you're familiar with Gasanov at all, this is his fight to lose. Jed, would you say that's a fair way to describe it?
100%. He's like a very good fighter.
Yeah.
You know? I think he's only got the one loss to Gary Tonin. Is that right?
Yes.
Which he then beat Gary Tonin. Like, he's a really good dude. And I don't know if you can build a promotion around him if you're one, but like just having good fighters on roster and giving them opportunities to hold belts is, I mean, that's a PFL strategy right now. And I don't know if it's working, but it's a plan. So good fight. I'll tune in. Like, that'll be on the other screen as I'm watching whatever nonsense goes down tonight for the final face-offs and et cetera for MVP.
This one, the One Fight Night 43, this is on Amazon, right?
I assume
Amazon
that's
Prime.
correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is still part of the Amazon Prime deal. So if you want to watch it tonight, you can. There is Friday Night MMA. And that fight right there should actually be a pretty fun fight for as long as it lasts. I think Gaziev, I would pick Gasanov. I'd pick like second or third round stoppage, something like that. But we shall see. All right. There you have it. Okay. That's it for our top 5. And with that in mind, before we go on to the next thing, let me just say this. Most Valuable Promotions and Netflix are putting on a blockbuster MMA fight featuring a triple headliner of fan favorite fighters on Saturday, May 16th. It's Netflix's first MMA fight, and it's gonna be awesome. For the main event, it's Ronda Rousey. She's back to shake up the world of combat sports with her first fight in nearly a decade, taking on fellow women's MMA pioneer Gina Carano. Combat sports icon Nate Diaz will face platinum Mike Perry, pitting two of the sport's toughest competitors against each other. Francis Ngannou, widely regarded as the hardest puncher in MMA history. By the way, the lineal MMA champion at heavyweight, will also be facing off against Felipe Lins in a heavyweight bout that you won't want to miss. 5 rounds, 5 minutes each, one chance to leave it all in the cage. You don't want to miss this. Watch Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano live only on Netflix Saturday, May 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And with that in mind, it is time. What?
Wouldn't it be so funny if Felipe Lins was the lineal heavyweight champion of the world?
Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Just be so silly.
It'd be crazy for that to happen, but it's possible. All right. With that in mind, it's time now. When you've got a corn pone ambulance chaser as a co-host, there's only one game you can play. It's Better Call Y'all.
We're sorry. The number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
You already know. Look at him with the gavel.
Just in case.
Wow, he's got the gavel now. Oh, shit. We got the props. Okay.
All right, LT, you're up first. So Better Call Y'all. You guys already know I'm going to present the guys with a scenario. They're going to tell me who they would call in that scenario. So, LT, Ariel Helwani had a last-minute conflict and had to cancel his hosting gig for the Rousey versus Carano face-to-face. MVP, they're scrambling to find a replacement when they finally found the perfect fill-in. Naugatuck's own Brian Campbell. BC is so excited about the gig, but also nervous about how excited he may get. So he asks you to do him a solid and stay in the room with him to kill the mood. Unfortunately, you have a scheduling conflict, so you also can't be there. So who are you calling to ensure that BC's pants don't end up around his ankles during the face-to-face? Here are your 3 options.
A tailor.
Justine Kish immediately after fighting Felice Herrig. Joanna Young-Jacek immediately after fighting Wei Li the first time. Or Gabby Garcia immediately after a quote-unquote training session with Craig Jones.
Okay. It couldn't be Kish shitting herself because BC would never stop laughing. Okay. Like, he would be unable. And honestly, you know what he would do during the face-off? He'd be like, "Hey, Rhonda, what do you think about the girl who just shit herself?" You know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't even talk about the fight. So that's out. The Gabby Garcia one, I honestly think would also be like really distracting for Brian in like maybe like a morbidly curious way.
Oh yeah.
He would, you know, I don't want to get him in trouble, but you know, Brian's been in the HR meetings a few times. Let's just put it that way. And then, so it's got to be Joanna deformed, because if it was Joanna normal, Brian would need to be handcuffed to his chair. However, because she's all lumped up and she's got the alien head thing going, it would kind of it would lock him in, because he'd be like, wow, I'm glad to be in the presence of greatness. But he might honestly be concerned for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'd be like too distracted with, like, whoa, what the fuck is going on over there?
Yeah, but he would have too much fun with Kish's shit, and then he'd be too weirded out by Gabby. So it'd be the middle one there.
All right, that's fair enough. Jed, you're up. Jed, you recently scored the Strickland Chimaev fight 48-46 in favor of Chimaev, which wasn't a scorecard.
They love that on Twitter.
That was
They're
not a
big fans.
scorecard most people had. In fact, Jed, you were the only media member on MMA Decisions to have that
I'm
score.
right.
But
Boo them.
Jed,
I'm right.
you are right, because the brass, they like your moxie. So after paying some questionable people off, they get you sanctioned as a judge. That gavel's now very appropriate in the Nevada State Athletic Commission for the rematch. They want to put the best judging team forward. So after Adelaide Bird is already unanimously voted in by the committee, there is some debate on who the third judge is going to be, and they give you the final vote. So who are you calling to be the third judge side by side, you and Adelaide Bird, in the Strickland Chimaev rematch? Joe Rogan, Daniel Cormier, or Michael Bisping?
Oh man, none of them are very good at that.
That's why those are the choices.
It's gonna be counterintuitive. I'm gonna pick Joe Rogan because Cormier and Bisping both think they know the scoring criteria, but don't. Whereas Rogan just kind of just gonna vibe it. and honestly, I feel like you might get a better result if he's just like, I think that guy won, or as opposed to be like, is that a 10-8? I don't know if that's a 10-8.
Oh, he'd have so many 10-8.
Incorrect.
The amount of he's hurt, he'd have so many 10-8s.
Yeah,
every fight would be a 10-8.
This is great.
Every
We should
round.
have way more of them. So rock on, Joe Rogan. Join the squad. We're gonna have a great time.
All right, that's fair. I feel like I would pick Cormier, but that's just me. Neither of them would be great, as you said. LT, UFC recently released the first look at the UFC Freedom 250 uniforms.
Yeah, you better play that fart sound drop.
I was going to say, some people like them, but most people don't. A lot like their posters. I feel like they could have done more. And so does Hunter Campbell. And he's a big fan of yours, LT. So he wants to know how you would design the unis. So which uniform are you calling on to show Hunter Campbell in hopes they become the new Freedom 250 unis? Is it Dennis Hallman's Speedo, Gervonta Davis's shorts on the what was that, Mayweather McGregor undercard?
Yeah.
Or these Trump Muay Thai shorts?
It's got to be the Trump Muay Thai shorts. First of all, I remember watching that fight with Dennis Hallman. That is fucking he won that fight, by the way. That is fucking hilarious, first of all. And by the way, if you ever watch like old school Vale Tudo, all the Brazilians fought with that shit. Like, it was fairly rare and for a white dude to do it, but like the Brazilians have been doing this shit for a long time.
Just fighting on the beaches, bro.
Yeah, not Pedro Hiz, I'm sorry. Marco Huas used to do it. So, okay, we can't count that. The Gervonta one, I mean, the problem is, bro, how the fuck are you going to fight below the waist with those shits on? You know what I'm saying? Like, you could hide another person in those fucking pants. They're insane. And by the way, the picture doesn't do it justice. That blue trim on the side is fur. It's fur.
It was hard to find a good picture of it, but yes, that was why because people have actually exaggerated the image online to make the shorts look ridiculously larger. So this was like the only realistic image I could find.
So those are out. And honestly, if you're gonna go all in on the White House, you got to go. I mean, you guys know me. I'm not gonna make it political any more than I am with this answer, but like, you should have truth in advertising, and that's what this is all really about. You got to go with the Muay Thai shorts.
All right, that's fair. Jed, we often joke about how bad the UFC heavyweight division currently is, with guys like Tai Tuivasa on 6-fight losing streaks still being ranked. We also recently saw Jake Paul challenge Anthony Joshua at heavyweight in boxing, and now he's teasing other opponents. Canelo, obviously not at heavyweight, but he's teased Ngannou at heavyweight. Either way, Jed, they've decided Nikisa's out, you're in. And you've convinced Jake Paul that the best move for his career is actually fighting in the UFC. So, as his manager, obviously you want him to win. Who are you calling on to fight Jake Paul in the UFC? Is it Hamdi Abdel-Wahab, Sean Sharaf, or Justin Tafa?
Sean Sharaf, this isn't close. This was like Hamdi is not none. So we're super clear. None of these guys are great, but Hamdi like does have a pedigree of athletic success and can just sit on Jake very likely. And you know, maybe Tafa should be the right answer because if you just tackle him, you can probably win. But he also hits quite hard, and that Jake's got a decent chin on him. We've seen, but yeah, don't just Sean Sharaf is not good. He's just not very good at this. So. Jake Paul, sign up. You can be a heavyweight of moderate success in the UFC at the minimum. At the minimum,
right? They do it. He has a wrestling background too, right? Like I feel like he could beat Sean Sharaf. I feel like he could beat Justin Tafa too.
I think he can beat both of them. You know, I mean, he could be. It's not like Hamdi's good, but Hamdi is, you know, was at one time like a high level athlete. That's just a much tougher ask.
True. All right, LT, your Washington Wizards just secured the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft for the first time in 16 years, back when they drafted our boy John Wall. Shout out John Wall. Got me thinking, LT.
Head of basketball operations now at Howard University.
Is he? Well,
yep.
All right, interesting. Got me thinking of a UFC draft, LT, where you can only pick fighters that were on the roster to rejoin the promotion. So, who are you calling on with your #1 pick in the draft? Where's the picture for this? Here it is. Nate Diaz, Francis Ngannou, or Honda Housey?
What are they supposed to be doing for me?
Who would you bring back to the UFC, essentially?
Oh. Ooh. Oh, Francis. Because you could bring, like, you know... okay, so let's talk about this. So if you bring back Ronda, you could get the Kayla fight maybe, or one other. But I mean, you know, I don't really know what she's got left, and that I don't know how much enthusiasm the fan base has for it. I mean, they would have a lot, I suspect, if it got promoted the right way. But you know, is that what the fans really want? You could bring back Nate, and obviously the Conor fight is huge, right? The Conor fight's huge. But well, maybe that's the answer then, because you know, if you're going to bring back, the reason you would bring back Francis is to put some life back into. You know what? I'm going to stick with Francis because Nate Conor is a bigger fight than you could make probably with anybody else in any permutation. But Francis, if he stays active enough, and I know that's a big if, but if he were, he could get a bunch of fights in that division that could lift it over time, or at least make it better, more palatable. And I think that, like, at scale, he's got more to offer. Give me, let's draft motherfucking Francis Ngannou.
That's true. Also, he's the youngest. I mean, he's definitely the right choice, right?
Francis is the youngest?
He has to be, right? Because Nate's 41, Ronda's 39. How old's Francis? He's like late 30s, right?
39? I'm not sure.
39?
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, let's look that up. I'm curious.
Francis is the right call, unless if you're just viewing it from a promotional, like dollars and cents standpoint, they probably make more money with Ronda.
Francis is 39 too.
Oh, all right. So maybe he's not the youngest, but same age either way. All right, Jed. RAF, MMA fighting's favorite promotion nowadays, seems to be booking everyone, but no one more than Armin Sarukian. But they're obviously running out of ideas. I don't even, who's this guy? He's fucking wrestling Muggsy or some shit. Like, who the fuck?
Muggsy is the guy who works for RAF.
He's a wrestling influencer.
Influencer who is also like part of their shows. He's basically like the halftime entertainment for when we're watching the video packages. Like when you're at home watching, like he's getting the crowd up, throwing shirts and doing that sort of thing, and is also a wrestling influencer.
All right. So clearly they're running out of people for Armin to wrestle. I think so, at least. So who are you calling to wrestle Armin Sarukian in RAF? Logan Paul, Shaquille O'Neal, or Deontay Wilder?
Ooh. I personally, is this a me or am I doing this for RAF?
This is whatever you want.
Business Jed, or is this party in the back Jed?
Let's hear both answers, honestly.
Look, if we're business Jed, I think you pick a Paul brother. Because that's like, That's not such an obscene spectacle. Logan Paul, you know, wrestled in high school or whatever, super famous, you would promote it very well there. If we're just here to party, give me Shaq. That's just funny.
That's a spectacle.
Like Armin is not a tall man, and Shaq is a very tall man. And like, maybe Shaq, if you just teach Shaq how to sprawl, is his physical mass enough to render Armin inert and then just lay on him? I don't know. I'd have a lot of fun watching that, but it's like, at least with the Paul brother, that feels more in keeping with what they're doing as a business.
What about Deontay? No interest.
That man doesn't wrestle. I mean, it would still be a spectacle, but it's neither as competitive as the Paul one or as hilariously weird as the Shaq one. So
that's fair, but I also feel like you could teach Deontay how to sprawl way more than you could teach Shaq how to sprawl, just based on their age.
But you're not really going to teach either of them well.
True.
So go with the much funnier one, which is 400-pound Shaq next to,
and we've seen
5'6" Armin.
We've seen Wei Lee pick up Shaq, so we know Armin. Imagine Armin with a high crotch on Shaq, like
dude. Air Armin? What if he suplexes him?
I don't think either of those guys can touch their toes. I mean, what are we talking about?
Not. That's why it's great.
He didn't need to touch his toes. If he just reaches down, Armin can't go anywhere. He could hit him with the dad move and just put his hand on his head and be like, you can't get me.
Yeah, that's true. All right, LT, picture this. Whether this is a reality or a fantasy world, the donks are upset and they want more boxing coverage. You decide you're going to enlist a new boxing insider to appear 30 minutes every Monday and Friday to help cover the sport. BC, obviously unavailable, so you have to go with the next best option. So, who are you calling to join you every show to cover boxing?
You're going to put Mike Coppinger on this list?
He's definitely putting Mike Coppinger.
Ryan Garcia.
Oh, God.
Mike Coppinger.
Oh,
or
God.
Gervonta Davis.
Oh, no.
3 people
he put you in the hurt locker, Luke.
Honestly, I'm just going to turn in my 2 weeks.
Yo, come on. It's just 30 minutes.
30 minutes of what?
30 minutes an episode. So an hour a week, you got to endure.
30 minutes underwater is enough to kill you. 30 minutes can be a lot, motherfucker. I'm okay. Gervonta is, oh, Jesus Christ. Wow, bro. Who do you want to talk to among this nightmare blunt rotation?
I know you're going to bring up all the racist remarks he said, and I'm not saying that we should look past that, but I feel like the easiest answer has to be Ryan Garcia, right?
The easiest answer is Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
Right. The easiest answer. But the problem with that is, like, even if you, and he has said, like, you know, that the when he was like, I hate basically every marginalized, minority community in the world. He has since said he was like drug addled at that time, and he is, a little bit more sober now. And I'm like, this is true, but now you're just stupid. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like not a smart person. So it's like, okay, you're not virulently racist based off of poor sleep and, God only knows what kind of drugs you were using to pump into your veins. Now we're just sort of back to your baseline IQ, which is deeply unimpressive. Nevertheless, the other two are so odious as to make it an impossible choice. So therefore, Ryan Garcia would somehow win. But I want to be clear about this. If this was a choice that was forced on me, MK would come to an end. Just be very clear about that.
You got to do Coppinger. The first one would be just big for you. Think of the views that first one would be.
Dude,
it'd be a lot. Yeah. You are an untalented zero. Yeah, is that my dad? Who's that? Who's that talking?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. All right, Jed. The PFL has finally decided to give you a chance. They're willing to put you in charge and officially rebrand to Fights.
Hell yeah, we're
the
cooking,
only
baby.
catch is you have to now fight one of the previous men in charge in order to get that position. So, who are you calling to be your opponent in a PFL Naugatuck main event? Because they go to the most random cities.
I like it.
But where's the options here? Here we go. 63-year-old Don Davis, 58-year-old Peter Murray, or 59-year-old John Martin?
I mean, I really thought you'd give me Ray Sefo and I would have picked him and he would have fucked me up, but that would at least be fun.
I thought you would just rule him out immediately. So
No, because I don't want to commit elder abuse and I would beat the shit out of any of these. Are old men. And that
that's why it's interesting, because it's like, ooh, who do you hate more, really? You know, who do you want to beat up more?
Look, I don't hate any of them, but I would
Come on.
I will tell you, it will look a lot like Rousey Carano in that I won't try to hurt him too bad, but Don Davis is getting put down. That's just what's going to happen here.
All right, good answer.
Dude, look
good
at put that picture back up.
answer.
Bro, this motherfucker on the left used to be like, yeah, we're the co-leader in MMA. Motherfucker, are you high, bro?
I like to believe that MMA fighting is directly responsible for Don Davis' exit from the PFL.
Oh, the Mike Heck.
The Mike Heck being
Those were
like, "Tell
great.
us your
Those were
favorite
so
fight," and he was
good.
just like, "I got nothing."
He's like, you know who I liked? The 96 Bulls. Eat a dick. We're like,
He's like,
what?
doctors don't go home and do surgeries. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Lawyers don't
It's
go
just
home
like-
and argue
watching that
law.
live was one of the more jarring moments of my media career. Where I'm just like,
Yeah,
"Oh
hold on.
my god!"
One more time. This guy on the left with his job on the line, having fumbled to an extraordinary degree, then was like, you know who should come to this next event? How about Russell Brand after he's been charged with rape? Hell yeah, bro.
Dicks.
Yeah.
Dicks everywhere. Dicks.
You know what? I like Jonathan Martin. Can I say that?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
new guy. Yeah.
I don't have any issues with John Martin.
He seems competent. He seems locked in. He doesn't say stupid shit. He's apparently the guy that they're going to get their next television deal. Like Martin seems to me like he's got so far so good for me.
All right. LT, last one for you. We often see fighters bring the UFC belt back home and receive a hero's welcome. You know, Marab bringing the belt back to Georgia, Aljo bringing the belt back to Uniondale, Long Island. Shout out. And I mean, who can forget fucking Yuri Prohaska bringing the belt back to the Czech Republic? Look at this fucking hero's welcome he got here. LT, we all know you're a man of many places. So, which city are you calling to organize a hero's welcome for you as you bring the UFC belt back home?
Is Augusta, Georgia,
New Delhi, India, Marietta, Georgia, or Bogota, Colombia?
the Big Chicken.
Bro, let me explain something to you. Okay. I'm just not going to India. Okay. I'm not. It's too far, and I don't know anyone there.
We
okay?
couldn't leave it out. I mean, come on.
All right. Where in Bogota is this?
I don't fucking know. I Googled Bogota, Colombia, and I just
I'm not sure where that is, to be honest with you. And I've been there many times, but
that's
maybe
South Street. You've never been on that? That's
I guess not.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
I can't go there either because I gotta tell you, they don't fuck with me there either. I mean, they treat me nicely, but like if I held a rally in Bogota, Colombia, my in-laws would be there, and that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Big
So
Chicken, baby.
It's gotta be the big motherfucking chicken, bro. I had an argument with my high school girlfriend for almost 2 hours in that fucking parking lot you're looking at where that white man is.
And think of the look on her face when you return with the UFC belt there.
And by the way, what this picture does not convey is that the beak goes open and closed while the eyes circle around simultaneously. And so I'm in there arguing with my girlfriend because it was my fault. I was late. So it was a whole thing. Meanwhile, this fucking chicken's eyeballs are rolling around, oh God, what a day that was. Jesus Christ.
So, somebody has to fan sub that. Just you getting in some very menial, stupid argument with the chicken just going at it behind you.
That would be really fucking good. All right, Jed, last one for you. So this past weekend at UFC 328, Jose Ochoa proposed to his girlfriend after winning the curtain jerker against Clayton Carpenter. The only problem was he was in New Jersey and his now fiance was 5,000 miles away in Brazil. It got me thinking of what other ridiculous MMA proposals would look like. So, which proposal idea are you calling on to let your future missus know she's the one? Are you A, paying for the name in the canvas to say, will you marry me, whatever, and just hope that the camera at some point gets on that? Are you putting it on the Jumbotron of the UFC Apex, or are you letting Dana announce it in the post-fight presser along with the gate bonuses? So he's like, fight of the night went to Ochoa, Carpenter, and Jed's girl, will you marry him? All right, who's got any questions, Which one?
There's a very obvious answer. Like, one, don't put your name on the cage. Like, don't do that. I also think that, like, Jumbotron things, not my style. That's for you. Cool. You sold the Dana White thing wrong because one, he's not announcing that we're getting married. I'm popping the question. I want Dana White to be like, fight of the night was thing. And also, whoever this is,
Woman.
What ex-woman do you want to be Jed Meshew's fucking wife? Boom. Like that's like, how do you not want, do you want to be his fucking wife?
Up and marry Jed. And then we move on. Yeah.
You goof. Be perfect. You got to go Dana White all day. All day it's Dana.
I was thinking the Apex Jumbotron would be so like so much worse than the normal Jumbotron because there's like 12 people there,
quite bad.
Like to golf clap for you after it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be quite bad. But Dana being like, do you want to be his fucking wife? That's kind of funny. I'm in on that.
All right, that's fair. All right, guys, that was Better Call y'all. Hope you enjoyed it. And now we got fan subs.
All right, let's do it. Time for fan subs.
You've got mail.
Viewers.
You've got mail.
Hey, oh, there we go. Hey, as a reminder, the best one all month gets a free signed poster. So keep them coming to morningcombat@gmail.com. All right, first, we've got 2 from Josh, 2 memes. Here's the first one. Luke prophesizing to the mouth breathers from upon high. Okay. I don't know if I get that one. And then it's Lukita Mania. Is this? Am I supposed to be Indian in this one?
It's definitely an Indian flag. Yeah.
I'm going, yes.
God, dude, I would kill a person to be this jacked. Holy fuck. I'd kill everyone I know to have the physique like that for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Holy shit, that'd be fun. All right, those were okay. Not my favorite. Secondly, from Tim, we have one meme. Me explaining the significance of Joseph A. Bank toilets in the greater DC area. The barista wondering how she got here after asking about my Arby's themed Whippet shirts 10 minutes ago. This one is a banger.
That's a good one.
So this was the context for this photo is I was interviewing Tito ahead of God, what was that? He was fighting in Bellator at the time. Oh, it was him versus was it Rampage? I forget. It was the one that was in Memphis, Tennessee, which was technically not even in Memphis, Tennessee. And then he was like, look how great shape I'm in. He starts pulling his shirt up, and I look at the camera like, you know what I mean? So, okay, fun.
It's a great gif of you. Just like, it's great. Yeah. That's a great one. Well done,
All
Tim.
right. From Julian, he says, was hoping you could show this tattoo to Luke and get him to rate it. Thank you. That's pretty good. Semper Fidelis written like a crayon, like a kid. This is what my daughter might do. I give that a 9 out of 10. Honestly, that's pretty fucking good. Jed, do you like it?
I like that. It's, like, because that would be really pretty good child art of that. So, and nobody else has that. It's pretty fun. I like that.
Yeah, they get the E's backwards on that one. All right, not bad. I give that one a solid 1.5 thumbs up. All right, from Jeremy says, hey there, I hope you're doing well. This is the first meme I've sent into the show, and I simply had to. I've never bought MK merch before, but the Whippets shirt made me and my wife laugh out loud, so I picked it up. Big fan of the show. Thanks for all the laughs. So no to the donk, MK stuff. Yes to the Arby's Whippets. Well, you know what? I can't say Arby's. To the Whippets in the parking lot shirt. It's my favorite shirt we've ever done.
You like the sauce, yeah.
I showed it to my wife, and even she liked it. I love this fucking shirt. Also,
I sent one to BC. He texted me the other day that he got it.
Oh, nice. Also, didn't Drake just drop like 3 fucking albums or something?
Yes, but if you drop them all at the same time, that's just a triple album. Fuck you. You don't get to say I dropped 3 albums.
Yeah, fuck off. All right, and last but not least, we have a meme from Eric. LT when Magadonks pipe up in the live chat. Kinda, a little. Mostly I just ignore them, but yes, there's a little bit of that too. Also, Qui-Gon Jinn is a bitch. Fuck him. All right.
Wow.
There's that.
Wow. Just coming for the fucking Star Wars fans' throats.
I mean, Yoda and Mace Windu clearly tell this motherfucker, do not train him. And he's like, you know what? I'm not going to take no for an answer. Got a real rapist vibe. I'm glad Darth Maul cut him in half. Fuck him. Or, stabbed him up anyway. Stupidest Jedi of them all. All right, there we go. Long Island, what's your coverage plan for the weekend, motherfucker? Please.
Well, first of all, I got a new prop quiz, $100 on the line. Sean Sheehan taking on Eric Jackman coming up 27 minutes, so check that out. And then, yeah, so I'm doing dual card watch alongs. We're starting 30 minutes early, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Tune in for that. I'm going to basically just have the chat vote each fight. Guys, we watching a UFC fight right now? We watching an MVP fight right now? And then I have a feeling we're going to watch 90% of the MVP card and 10% of the UFC card, but it is what it is. I'll let you guys decide, so tune in for that. Thank you.
Jed, what you got going on for MMA fighting?
Got a preview show coming up. I think at 2, might be at 3. I don't remember. Go to our YouTube channel. And then we will be doing a live watch party, a digital one for the MVP main card, I think is all we're going to do on. And then just coverage of both events at MMAfighting.com. Great website.
There you have it. For me, if you join me in an hour on my Substack, we're going to rewatch Ronda Rousey's UFC fights together. That should be a lot of fun. We'll probably watch a couple of Gina's as well. And then tomorrow I'll have probably a full card watch along and then a post-fight show over on my YouTube channel. All right. As a reminder, morningcombat.shop to get the merch. These are the ones available this month. Get them while you can. They will only last until the 31st. The Donk design, the Washington, D.C. design, and then the Whippets one, which is my personal favorite. As I mentioned, morningcombat at gmail.com to reach the show. You've seen the socials. You've seen everything else. So for Long Island, for Jed Meshew, I'm Luke Thomas. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll talk to you on Monday with Chuck to break everything down. And until then, may all of your gains be loyal.